With the advent of the cloud, networking has evolved from client-server to distributed microservices. We've gone from vendor-provided networking tools to open-source networking tools. Also, containers in Kubernetes has completely changed how we manage networking today. A service mesh is a modern way to manage networking between services and applications in a cloud-native world. A service mesh is simply a complex mesh of communication between services. Rather than one-to-one communication, we now have many-to-many communication. This means that rather than one client talking to one server and waiting for a response, we now have many services talking to each other at the same time. With all of this complexity, we need a way to control, monitor, and manage all of these many-to-many network requests, and that's exactly where a service mesh fits in. The service mesh has its origins in the creation of an open-source tool called Envoy. Created by Lyft, Envoy takes a sidecar model to handle outbound traffic for each service. It acts as the universal data plane and is foundational for any service mesh today. Despite having a data plane, there was one more need, a control plane. This is where two major service mesh tools stepped in to fill this gap. First, Istio. Created by Google, IBM and Lyft, Istio works along with Envoy to better manage and control network requests. The second tool is Linkerd, created by Buoyant. It's now part of the CNCF. What are the top features provided by these service mesh solutions? First, service discovery. This is simply making sure that as new services are added to the network, they're automatically discovered by other services within the application. Next, load balancing. This is making sure requests are spread across services so that no one service gets overwhelmed with requests. Third, it brings in automation such as routing rules, automatic retries, and even logic for timeouts. Finally, service mesh tools enable policy-based networking. This means you can set policies, not just rules, that govern how requests are managed. Now let's look at the benefits of a service mesh. A service mesh brings in separation of concerns so that as your application changes and scales, your networking can scale along with it and isn't so tightly knit with the application services itself. Second, it brings in better monitoring and observability as you get deep insight into every step of a network request. Finally, it enables a distributed architecture. As services vary from each other, you can have common networking that lets these different services communicate with each other seamlessly. Finally, what should you consider before adopting a service mesh? First, are you already running Kubernetes in production? Are you familiar with the CNCF family of tools? A service mesh works best in this setup, although it can work on-premise and for traditional applications as well. It's built to work in a more cloud-native setup. Secondly, if you're considering Istio, do remember that it's not yet part of the CNCF and is still managed and controlled primarily by Google. This is a cause of concern for some in the cloud computing space because they see CNCF as the way forward for cloud-native computing. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon below.